We're on a real mission here this morning at AusArmour with the Chieftain. Joe Hewes was very generous with his time doing a video call about some specifics on what to look out for and how to run the Chieftain. So I'm really highly motivated to get the thing running and take it out for a play. We're moving into functional testing of the transmission to make sure that it goes up and down, gears properly. How do you test a tank transmission safely, especially something as complex as the Chieftain?
Just pull the quill shafts out. I think that's the safest for any testing.
So this is a component that you can take out of the final drive that allows you to disconnect the transmission from the actual drive sprocket. I'll start by getting the screw out. Retaining screw. Oh, come out nice and easy. I've been marinating this in WD-40. This one's got a bit of an added twist because for the bloody life of me I couldn't find an Allen key that would fit it. I found this old survivor of a bolt that I think it come out of something German perhaps, but it fits nicely. Magic. You can screw an extraction tool into there to be able to pull the quill shaft back enough that it goes out of mesh. I've got myself a selection of bolts and I'll try a few. Too small. Too small. This is promising. Oh, it's moved. Oh, fantastic. Now that that's done, I can safely run the engine and check the transmission and clutch. First thing we'll do is validate that the transmission is actually turning in the right direction. I've got some doubts about the electro-hydraulic system on the transmission, so we're going to play it safe and put the thing in emergency manual reverse. The cable for the emergency gear selector is seized. I'm going to have to do it manually. Alright, so I actually heard the swish of some hydraulic fluid in there, so the transmission's obviously building up oil pressure, which is good. So this should now be in the forward direction. Righto Dave, whenever you're ready, just start it up and then just slowly bring the revs up to sort of 900. Beautiful. So I'm looking out for the shift mechanism to be changing and the engine note changing. Excitement of running it and checking the gearbox and stuff, I've had a chance to catch my breath and regroup and have a think about working through things logically. So today's objective is to put some air into the hydraulic accumulator for the foot brake system. If you can think about it as a big air-powered spring, sits up against oil pressure which is generated by the engine-driven hydraulic pump. It means that the engine-driven system doesn't have to work as hard to maintain oil pressure when you're working the brake pedal. Now, according to the manual, I have to bleed out any residual hydraulic pressure by opening this valve before attempting to recharge the system. So I'm looking for 420 psi plus or minus 25. It's 400, 425. Fantastic. I love it when a plan comes together. I'm refilling the cooling system at the same time as making a start on bleeding the steering tillers. Dave's up forward, ready to work the controls. So I'm going to be watching for bubbles coming out of it to make sure we're getting a good solid supply of fluid through without air in it. So, all right, Dave, just start slowly stroking the left-hand tiller.
Yep.
Keep doing it slowly.
Okay.
Release.
Release. It's already come up a little bit harder, but that's right back.
So I don't know if you can see it, but there was quite a bit of air coming out. And the level's going down, which is good. Excellent. All right, Dave, just pull it towards you. Okay, release. Pull. Release. Pull. Release. Yeah, righto. Okay, that's great. Dave's up top to let me know if the Quill shaft has gone in fully. All right, so you ready? Ready, Dave?
Yep. Not quite, Steve.
Not quite.
Hang on, just leave it there. I might be able to move it a little bit. Try again. That's it. Yep, that went.
We'll have a go at reversing it back carefully, checking that it will turn, rotate the turret, and then we'll put it in a different position in the museum so that we don't smoke the place out every time I try and start this thing. We've got to make sure at all costs that the tank doesn't lurch forward, knock that pillar down, and then who knows what will happen to the structure. But I know what would happen is that I would shut everything down and I would get up out of the tank and I'd run away real fast and hide somewhere. All right, here we go. Yeah, it gave that bit of a jerk.
It looked like it was going to go the wrong way.
The problem lays with me because, of course, the rotational direction is reversed when it goes through the final drive. So it does make sense that the emergency lever should be forwards to move forwards and back to move back. Should have had the intelligence meter set on the dashboard to bright instead of dim. All right, I'll start her up. The other way. Hey. Joe Hewes in his typical style on the telephone, he says,
any brakes on a Chieftain other than steering brakes generally don't work. Brakes aren't that important on the Chieftains. One or two of ours, they don't work. It's not an issue, really.
It's probably correct, but we like to do things a little bit more by the book, especially seeing as though we've got our QA and safety manager here standing listening to us saying this. Mission is to get it to the other side of the museum in one piece. Okay. Just flipped it out of emergency reverse into emergency forwards. That's easily the angriest tank I've had to drive so far. I think I smoked the clutch a bit too.
Definitely.
At some point, one of the fuel lines has had a new hydraulic hose end just crimped on the end, and it doesn't match the original Chieftain one. It was sort of cross-threaded and wasn't sealing properly, so I've gone ahead and TIG welded on a adapter. Time to kneel down on the altar. Oh, is it time to knock off yet? Right. And onto this junction block here. I think these are combination breather and return fuel lines from the injector pump. Thankfully, the whole monster hasn't grabbed it. I've got to say, I'm pretty thankful, despite all of my whinging and whining. This stuff is actually pretty accessible in the grand scheme of things. Great. Unbend myself. Right, now I need to think of this before I power all this up. So I'm just going to do a functional test. Plug in my temporary fuel supply. Just power on. So previously it'd be pissing fuel out from there. Brilliant. One more thing off the list. So before I can restart the engine and continue on with troubleshooting what's wrong with the braking system, why it's not working, I figured it's a good opportunity to fix the brake bleeder blocks, because it's more than likely that could be contributing to the issue of why the brakes aren't working. I mean, I'm trying to bleed the rest of the braking system, but without being able to bleed both calipers on the main service brake either side. It's an exercise in futility to try and get the brakes working if you're not sure that you've got everything bled up properly. Of course, the original bleeders were all frozen in here and half of them broke off, so I spent quite a few hours carefully drilling them out, retapping the thread, and then the local brake place had some bleeders off the shelf, so happy days with that. So I'll refit these so that we can make the hydraulic system liquid and airtight in preparation for bleeding the foot brakes. Might give her a bit of a drink. Oh, that's pretty cool. The level gauge is still working. Don't build them like they used to. I can hear weird squirty noises coming from somewhere, which may not be a good sign. I think I'm doing a self-brake bleed here. It's where the squirty noises are coming from. So I hadn't tightened the bloody fittings up. Alright, so let's start again. I need to run the engine, build up pressure and go through this process again. Seems to be holding air pressure inside the accumulator, so I don't need to mess with that. Next thing is to have a go at bleeding the system. So, procedure to bleed brakes is to hold a small amount of pressure. Look at that. Yeah, hasn't done that before. Must have been completely full of air. So one of these switches illuminates the idiot light warning you if there's low brake pressure, and then the other pressure switch, which is also to do with low brake pressure, triggers an automatic down change function, and it also activates a inhibitor that stops you from going out of third gear into fourth gear if you've got low brake pressure. I'm going to close the bleeder off, empty the bottle, and then restart this process again. There's no more bubbles coming out. That's great, fantastic. Now we need to go to the rear of the tank to go through to actually bleed the calipers. I don't know if I'm giddy with excitement because I've actually managed to fix something, or it's the smoke inhalation. It's probably a combination of both. While I was bleeding the brake system, you could see the level indicator needle jumping ever so slightly, plus the cut-off valve system is cycling backwards and forwards to try and keep the pressure in the system. Now I can move on to testing the transmission system to make sure that that's working properly. New week, new colour t-shirt. Next job is to try and resuscitate the operation of the transmission, so the electro-hydraulic part of it. Sitting underneath here is all the solenoid shuttle valves that control oil to the various brake bands and other gubbins and stuff. That's what makes this thing work. Ta-da! So I have a gasket here that I need to try and remove very carefully. Alright, so that's the first gasket off. So there's a lot of sludge and other crud in here. Ah, beautiful. Come off in one piece. Excellent. Less optimal is the it's the milkshake like emulsion. So we can sort of see the cylinders that have been working when I'm just cycling the emergency shift system versus maybe the ones that haven't been operated yet. So it looks like oil pressure comes out of these holes from the solenoids and is then forced into these cavities here, which are the pistons which act directly on the brake band. So we'll make sure that these are all free and operational, and then we'll dig a bit deeper in here I think as well too. Oh yeah, there you go. Working. Alright, so we've got a twin piston here, so that means that it needs a lot of leverage on here, so maybe this could be the low reduction gear perhaps. This piston here hasn't been working, but it's not that it's seized. Oh, oh bloody hell. If I just gone and pulled something out that I shouldn't have pulled out. I should know better. This is like the worst possible situation. I'm imagining that there's some complex linkage system underneath here that has popped out. This is very definitely not looking good. What I'm worried about is that the casing has to be split apart, that you actually fit this thing into there. Well, this is definitely a bit of an own goal, isn't it? Guess I've got to try and get this piston out. But it seems to be sort of stuck against something. Oh! Look at that. So it's a replaceable sleeve. Oh, that's bloody clever, isn't it? It's looking promising. Oh yeah, look at that. So you can see down in the bottom there, there's a guide plate that this end fits in here, and then this is some sort of like a rotating follower that goes in there, so looks like the emergency is over. There you go. Dodged a bullet there. Alright, so I can continue on with cleaning everything up, spray some jointing compound. I'll refit the gasket. The faster I get that back on, the less I have to worry about things going wrong. I'm thinking that fixing this transmission properly, especially the bits that I removed that fell apart, is going to be key in making sure that I have a long and prosperous career at AusArmour, and that I'm not encouraged to explore my career growth opportunities outside the museum. It's rapidly biodegrading away before my eyes. Let's get this bloody thing bolted down so I can forget about my close shave, move forward with the removal of this piece here, because this is the bit that I think is where the problem lies. This is where all the solenoids for the transmission are, and also the limit switch for the emergency gear change system, because that doesn't seem to be working. Oh, that's not good. Well, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I've seen a lot worse. This is probably the biggest bump in the road that I've encountered so far with the reanimation of the Chieftain. Bugger. It's all looking really good too.